If you can't feed your kids, maybe you shouldn't have had them, the red-haired woman said loudly, making sure everyone in the checkout line could hear. Simone felt her face burn with shame as she handed her food coupons to the cashier. Her 4 young daughters shrank close to her. "Ma'am, please, there are other people waiting," the manager said, avoiding Simone's eye. "No, I want to watch this. I want to see where my tax money is going," the woman sneered. From the end of the aisle, a man in a simple suit began walking toward them, an unreadable expression on his face. "But before we see who he is, tell me where you're watching from and what time it is. Now, subscribe to the channel and let's get into the full story." "Mommy, why does the lady at the store always look at our card funny?" Zoe asked, her small voice cutting through the pre-dawn quiet of their apartment. Simone Johnson paused while buttoning her hospital receptionist uniform. 5:30 in the morning was too early for difficult questions, especially after only 4 hours of sleep. "Some people don't understand that everyone needs help sometimes," she said, smoothing her daughter's curly hair. "Now help me wake your sisters, okay? We have a busy day." Zoe nodded seriously and padded to the bedroom where her 3 identical sisters still slept. At 7 years old, the quadruplets were the center of Simone's world, her exhaustion, her joy, and her purpose, all wrapped into 4 matching faces. In the kitchen of their small Chicago suburb apartment, Simone quickly prepared breakfast. 1 carton of eggs stretched into a meal for 5 with a bit of leftover rice and the last bell pepper from last week's grocery trip. As she cooked, she mentally reviewed her budget. Today was the last Friday of the month, grocery day. "Girls! Breakfast in 5 minutes!" she called. Soon, 4 identical girls with matching braids sat at the table. Each wore the same school uniform, but with different colored socks. Simone's small attempt to help teachers tell them apart. "Purple headbands today," Simone reminded, placing the bands beside each plate. "Remember to keep them on all day." "I want the light purple one," said Zuri, the quietest of the 4. "No, that's mine," Zara countered, reaching across the table. "Girls," Simone said firmly, "we don't have time. Zuri gets light purple today. Zara gets dark purple. Zoe has the striped one, and Zoe has the sparkly one. Tomorrow, we switch." The system wasn't perfect, but it worked. After breakfast, Simone hustled the girls into their coats and backpacks. "Remember, Mrs. Miller is picking you up after school today," Simone reminded them as they walked to the bus stop. "I'll meet you at home at 5 o'clock. "Will we go shopping after?" Zoe asked, adjusting her glasses. "Yes, as soon as I change clothes," Simone promised. The school bus arrived and Simone gave each daughter a quick kiss before watching them climb aboard. She checked her watch, 6:45. If she hurried, she could catch the 6:55 bus to Oak Grove Memorial Hospital. "Good morning, Oak Grove Memorial. How may I direct your call?" Simone's voice was warm and professional as she juggled 3 incoming lines at the hospital reception desk. 8 hours of smiling, directing visitors, filing paperwork, and managing the constant flow of people left her feet aching. During her lunch break, Simone sat in the hospital cafeteria, not eating but instead studying a nursing program brochure. She traced her finger over the course requirements, then reluctantly folded it and tucked it back into her purse. Maybe someday. At 4:30, Simone clocked out and rushed to catch the bus home. By 5:15, she had changed into jeans and a simple sweater, greeting her daughters with hugs and paying their elderly neighbor, Mrs. Miller, for the after-school childcare. "Ready for grocery shopping?" Simone asked, pulling a carefully written list from her pocket. "Can we get ice cream?" Zoe asked, ever the brave spokesperson for her sisters. "Not this time, baby," Simone said, feeling the familiar twinge of disappointment at having to say no. "But maybe next week." The bus ride to Value Mart took 20 minutes. Inside the bright, well-stocked store, Simone pulled out a shopping cart. "Remember the rules," she said quietly. "Stay together, stay close to the cart, and no asking for extras." The girls nodded, having heard these instructions every month. They followed obediently as Simone navigated the aisles, calculator in hand. Into the cart went rice, beans, pasta, frozen vegetables, the cheapest cuts of chicken, and whatever fruit was on sale. Each addition was carefully calculated and rechecked against her budget. "Mommy, can we get cereal?" Zara asked, pointing to a colorful box. "Not the name brand, sweetie," Simone replied, reaching for the store brand instead. "This one tastes just as good." As they approached the checkout lanes, Simone mentally added up their total one last time, $287.16, just under her monthly food stamp allowance. She chose a lane with a short line and began unloading the cart. Behind her, a woman in designer clothes sighed loudly. "Is this going to take long?" the woman asked the cashier, glancing pointedly at Simone's full cart. "I only have these few items." "I'll be as quick as I can," Simone promised, continuing to unload while keeping an eye on the girls. The cashier, a teenager named Ashley, smiled sympathetically and began scanning. "How are you today, Ms. Johnson?" "We're doing fine, thank you," Simone replied, helping the girls bag items at the end of the counter. When everything was scanned, Ashley announced, "That's $287.16. Simone pulled out her food stamps card and swiped it through the machine. After a moment, the screen flashed. Card declined. "That can't be right," Simone said, feeling her cheeks grow warm. "Could you try again, please?" The woman behind her made another impatient noise. "Is there a problem?" "No problem," Simone said quickly. "Just a card issue." She swiped again, but the same message appeared. The knot in her stomach tightened as she dug through her wallet, knowing there wasn't enough cash. "Maybe try one more time?" she asked Ashley quietly. The woman behind her, perfectly styled red hair, expensive handbag, manicured nails, sighed dramatically. "This is ridiculous," she said loudly. "Some of us have actual appointments to keep." Simone's hands trembled slightly as she swiped the card a third time. "I'm sorry, ma'am," Ashley said when the decline message appeared again. "Excuse me," called a man's voice from the customer service desk. "What seems to be the problem here?" Simone recognized Tom Parker, the store manager, a young man in his 20s who always seemed nervous. "This woman's food stamps card keeps getting declined," the red-haired woman said before Simone could respond. "And some of us have been waiting quite a while." Tom looked uncomfortable. "Ms. Johnson, perhaps you could step aside and let this customer go first while we sort this out." The four girls huddled closer to Simone, sensing her distress. "Of course," Simone said, quietly moving away from the register. "It's really outrageous," the red-haired woman continued, stepping forward with her few items. "People who can't control their reproduction living off hard-working taxpayers." Simone froze, staring at the woman in shock. "Excuse me?" she said. "You heard me," the woman replied, not bothering to lower her voice. 4 identical children? Was one not enough? And now the rest of us have to stand in line while you try to use government handouts." Zoe stepped forward, her small chin raised. "Don't talk to my mommy like that." The woman, whose name tag on her designer blazer read Patricia Whitfield, luxury realtor, looked down at Zoe with barely concealed contempt. "Well, at least one of them has some spirit," Patricia said to the uncomfortable onlookers. Tom shifted nervously. "Ms. Whitfield, your total is $32. "I work 2 jobs," Simone said quietly but firmly. "Every day." "Then perhaps you should budget better," Patricia replied, swiping her credit card. Other customers pretended not to notice the confrontation, looking away awkwardly. The quadruplets pressed closer to their mother, their identical brown eyes filling with tears. "It's okay," Simone whispered to them. "It's okay to need help sometimes. What matters is how hard you work and how you treat others." "Working 2 jobs and still on food stamps," Patricia muttered, collecting her shopping bag. "Perhaps better life choices would have—" "Is there a problem here?" A new voice interrupted. A man in jeans and a simple button-up shirt approached the register. He was tall, with dark hair and striking blue eyes, dressed casually but with an air of authority. "Just a hold-up in the line," Tom said quickly. "We're resolving it, sir." "This woman's card was declined, and she's holding up the whole line," Patricia added. The man looked at Simone for the first time, and his eyes widened in shock. "Simone?" he said, his voice suddenly softer. "Simone Johnson?" Simone stared back, recognition dawning. "Robert. Robert Williams?" Tom's mouth fell open. "You know each other?" "High school," Robert said, still staring at Simone as if seeing a ghost. "A long time ago," Simone added, automatically pulling her daughters closer. Robert's gaze dropped to the four little girls, and he froze completely. His eyes traveled over each identical face, lingering on their dimpled cheeks and the slight curl in their hair. Features Simone saw in the mirror every morning when she looked at her daughters. Features they had inherited from their father. "How?" Robert began, then stopped, his gaze locked with Simone's. "How old are they?" The store had gone completely silent. Even Patricia seemed to sense something significant happening. 7, Simone said quietly. "They're 7 years old." Robert did the mental calculation, his face paling slightly. 7 years ago he had left Oak Grove for college 8 months before these girls were born. "Mommy," Zuri said, pointing at Robert. "He has dimples just like us." Robert's eyes never left Simone's face, a mixture of shock, confusion, and dawning realization washing over his features. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Before Simone could answer, Tom cleared his throat awkwardly. "Mr. Williams, sir, I didn't know you were visiting the store today. If I had known—" "Mr. Williams?" Patricia interrupted, her tone completely transformed. "Robert Williams, the CEO of Value Mart? I'm Patricia Whitfield. We met at the Chamber of Commerce dinner last year." But Robert wasn't listening. His eyes remained fixed on Simone and the four little girls who shared his dimpled smile. Robert continued to stare at the four identical girls, completely ignoring Patricia's outstretched hand. The entire store seemed frozen in a moment of uncomfortable silence. "These are my daughters," Simone said quietly, placing her hands protectively on the shoulders of the two girls closest to her. "Zoe, Zara, and Zuri." Patricia Whitfield cleared her throat loudly. "Mr. Williams, as I was saying, we met at the chamber event. My development company has been interested in discussing potential partnerships." "Not now," Robert said firmly, his eyes never leaving Simone's face. The store manager, Tom, shifted nervously from foot to foot. "Perhaps we could continue this discussion in my office. People are waiting to check out." Indeed, a line had formed behind them, customers pretending not to watch the drama unfolding. "Your card was declined?" Robert asked Simone softly. She nodded, embarrassment coloring her cheeks. "There must be some mistake with the system. I'm careful with my budget." "I'm sure you are," he replied. Then, turning to Tom, he said, "Process the transaction manually. Put it on my personal account." "Right away, Mr. Williams," Tom said, suddenly eager to help. Patricia made a small, scoffing sound. "Well, isn't that generous? Though I'd be careful about encouraging dependency." "That's my mom you're talking about." Zoe stepped forward, her small hands balled into fists at her sides. "She works at the hospital all day and on her computer all night. She only sleeps for 4 hours. She's not lazy." Simone gently pulled Zoe back. "Sweetie, it's okay." "No, it's not okay," Zoe insisted, tears forming in her eyes. "She's being mean to you and nobody is stopping her." The other 3 girls, emboldened by their sister's courage, moved forward too. "Our mom is the best mom ever," Zoe added, adjusting her glasses. "She reads to us even when she's tired," Zara chimed in. "And she never says mean things about other people," Zuri finished softly. Robert looked at the 4 little defenders, a mix of emotions crossing his face. Then he turned to Patricia, his expression hardening. Ms. Whitfield, I believe you owe this family an apology. Patricia blinked in surprise. I was simply expressing concern about the system. You were publicly humiliating a customer in my store, Robert interrupted. That's not acceptable. A man stepped forward from the small crowd of onlookers. He was Asian American in his early 30s, wearing jeans and a button-down shirt with a press badge clipped to his pocket. Marcus Chen, Oak Grove Chronicle, he said, holding up his phone. I've been recording this interaction for a story I'm writing on economic disparities in our town. Ms. Whitfield, would you like to comment on your treatment of this family? Patricia's face paled. You've been recording me? That's an invasion of privacy. We're in a public space, Marcus replied calmly, and this incident perfectly illustrates the growing divide between North and South Oak Grove. Tom had finished processing Simone's groceries. All done, Ms. Johnson. Your items are paid for. Thank you, Simone said quietly, then turned to Robert. But I can't accept. Please, Robert said. We need to talk. Would you and the girls come to my office? Patricia attempted to interject. Robert, if I could just have 5 minutes of your time. Not today, he said firmly. Tom, please finish helping Miss Whitfield with her purchase. This way, Robert said to Simone, gesturing toward the back of the store. Girls, would you like to see where I work when I visit this store? The quadruplets looked at their mother questioningly. It's okay, Simone assured them, though uncertainty was written across her face. As they walked away, Marcus Chen approached Patricia. Ms. Whitfield, as a prominent realtor in North Oak Grove, do you feel your comments reflect the attitudes of our wealthier residents toward working families? Robert's office at the back of the Value Mart was simple but spacious. A desk with a computer occupied one corner, with a small conference table in the center. The girls immediately began exploring the space while Robert and Simone stood awkwardly by the door. They're mine, aren't they? Robert asked quietly. Simone nodded. Yes. Why didn't you tell me? His voice wasn't accusatory, just deeply confused. Simone sighed and sat down at the conference table. You were leaving for MIT the next day. We had already broken up because we both agreed long distance wouldn't work. That doesn't explain 7 years of silence, Simone. When I found out I was pregnant, I was going to call you, she explained. But then your mother called me first. Robert's eyebrows shot up. My mother? She made it very clear that your future was too important to be tied down to a girl from the wrong side of town. Those were her exact words. Robert closed his eyes briefly. That sounds like her. Then I found out it was quadruplets, Simone continued. 4 babies at once. I was terrified. Your parents were right about one thing. You were headed for big things. I didn't want to derail your future. Zuri approached them, holding a framed photograph from Robert's desk. Who are these people? Robert took the frame gently. That's me in high school, and that's your mom next to me. You knew our mom before? Zara asked, joining her sister. We were friends in high school, Simone explained carefully. More than friends, Robert added softly. Zoe, always the analytical one, stepped closer. Is that why we have the same dimples as you? Robert and Simone exchanged a look. Girls, Simone said, Mr. Williams and I need to talk about some grown-up things. Can you sit quietly for a few minutes? Are we in trouble because the card didn't work? Zoe asked. No, sweetheart. Not at all, Robert assured her. Sometimes machines make mistakes. A knock at the door interrupted them. Tom poked his head in nervously. Mr. Williams, I'm so sorry to disturb you, but Ms. Whitfield is insisting on speaking with you. She says it's urgent. Robert sighed. Tell her I'll call her office next week. Also, Tom added, that reporter is interviewing customers about what happened. Should I ask him to leave? No, Robert said. Let him do his job. This community has issues that need addressing. After Tom left, Robert turned back to Simone. I've missed so much. You have, she acknowledged, but you didn't know. I want to be part of their lives, he said firmly. If you'll let me. Before Simone could respond, the office door burst open and Patricia Whitfield strode in. Robert, I simply must apologize for any misunderstanding, she said, ignoring Simone completely. I had no idea these children were related to you. So it would have been okay to treat them badly if they weren't related to me? Robert asked coldly. Patricia faltered. That's not what I... Ms. Whitfield, Simone interrupted, standing up. My daughters are watching. Please don't make this situation worse. Patricia glanced at the 4 identical faces watching her curiously. For a moment, something like shame crossed her features. I apologize for my behavior, she said stiffly. It was inappropriate. Thank you, Simone replied. Girls, what do we say when someone apologizes? We accept your apology, the quadruplets said in unison, though their expressions remained cautious. I'll leave you to your discussion, Patricia said, backing toward the door. Robert, please do call my office next week. After she left, Robert turned to Simone. You've done an amazing job with them. They're incredible. They are, Simone agreed, her eyes softening as she looked at her daughters. They're my whole world. I want to help, Robert said, in whatever way you'll allow. Simone studied his face for a long moment. It's complicated, Robert. They don't know about you. I've never known how to explain why their father wasn't in their lives. Now you can tell them the truth, he suggested, that I didn't know about them, but now I do. And I'm not going anywhere. Outside the office window, they could see Marcus Chen interviewing shoppers in the parking lot, his press badge catching the afternoon sunlight. The story of what happened today would spread through Oak Grove by evening. Everything was about to change. The story of the Value Mart confrontation spread through Oak Grove faster than anyone expected. By Monday morning, Marcus Chen's article titled "A Tale of Two Oak Groves" appeared on the front page of the local newspaper and quickly gained attention online. 1 week later, Robert Williams pulled his car into the driveway of a modest 2-story house he had rented in Oak Grove's middle-class neighborhood. He carried a small suitcase from the trunk and paused to look at the children playing in the yard across the street. They waved, and he waved back, feeling like a stranger in the town where he grew up. His phone buzzed with a message from Simone. Girls excited about ice cream today. Still okay for 3 o'clock? Robert smiled and typed back, Absolutely. See you then. Inside the rental house, he set down his suitcase and looked around the empty rooms. He had purchased only the basics so far, a bed, a desk, and a couch. The 4 empty bedrooms upstairs waited for children's furniture he had ordered but hadn't arrived yet. His phone rang. It was his assistant from the Chicago office. Mr. Williams, the board is asking when you'll return to headquarters. Tell them I'm working remotely indefinitely, Robert replied. I'll be in for meetings twice a week. Sir, they're concerned about this sudden change. The media is asking questions about your connection to the story in Oak Grove. I'll address it at the next board meeting, Robert said firmly. Right now, I have more important matters to handle. At 3 o'clock, Robert sat nervously at a table in Sweet Scoop's ice cream shop in downtown Oak Grove. Through the window, he saw Simone approaching with the quadruplets, each girl holding the hand of the sister next to her in a chain. When they entered, the shop owner smiled. Hello, Johnson girls. The usual today? Actually, Simone said, Mr. Williams is treating us today. The 4 identical faces turned to look at Robert, their expressions a mix of curiosity and shyness. Hi, Robert said, standing up awkwardly. I saved us a table. Girls, Simone said gently, go say hello to Mr. Williams while I help with the orders. The quadruplets approached the table cautiously. You can call me Robert, he offered, pulling out chairs for them. I'm Zoe, said one, climbing into a chair. I'm the oldest by 7 minutes. I'm Zoe with a Y, said another, adjusting her glasses. I like math and science. I'm Zara, said the third, showing him a small sketchbook. I draw pictures. I'm Zuri, said the fourth, the quietest of the group. I like animals. Robert smiled, noticing the different colored headbands they wore. It's very nice to meet all of you. Again. Zoe tilted her head. Mom said you knew us when we were babies, but you had to go away for work. Robert glanced at Simone, who was watching from the counter. They had agreed on this simplified explanation for now. That's right, he said, but I'm back now, and I'd like to get to know you all. Why do you have the same dimples as us? Zoe asked directly. Before Robert could answer, Simone arrived with a tray of ice cream. Let's eat first, she suggested. Then we can talk. As they ate, Robert observed each girl carefully. Despite their identical appearance, their personalities were distinctly different. Zoe was clearly the leader, Zoe the thinker, Zara the dreamer, and Zuri the gentle soul. All four had inherited his dimples and blue eyes, but their warm brown skin tone and curly hair came from Simone. Do you like being a store owner? Zara asked between bites of strawberry ice cream. I do, Robert replied. I like making sure people can buy good food at fair prices. The mean lady at the store wasn't very nice, Zuri said quietly. Robert frowned. No, she wasn't, and I'm sorry that happened. Everyone at school is talking about it, Zoe said. Marcus's story is on the internet. Mrs. Foster read it to our class. Simone looked surprised. The principal read the article to your class? Zoe nodded. She said it was an important discussion about community values. I see, Simone said, exchanging a look with Robert. How do you like your new house? She asked him. It's empty, Robert admitted, but I ordered furniture for the guest rooms. 4 beds, actually. Simone raised an eyebrow but said nothing. After ice cream, they walked to the nearby park. The girls ran ahead to the playground while Robert and Simone sat on a bench. Marcus's article has created quite a stir, Simone said. Patricia Whitfield's charity gala this weekend lost half its sponsors. I saw, Robert replied. Tom called me 5 times to make sure he still has a job. Does he? Yes, but I've reassigned him to training. He needs to learn how to handle situations like that better. They watched the girls play in comfortable silence for a moment. Thank you for agreeing to this, Robert said finally. Letting me see them. They need to know you, Simone said. I've thought about it a lot this week. They deserve to have their father in their lives. I want to help financially too, Robert said. You've carried this alone for too long. Simone stiffened. We've managed just fine. I know you have. That's not what I meant. Robert turned to face her. Simone, you've done an amazing job raising our daughters. But you shouldn't have to work 2 jobs just to make ends meet. Let me help. I don't want your money, Robert. It's not about my money, it's about their future, our daughter's future. Before Simone could respond, a scream came from the playground. Zoe had fallen from the monkey bars. They both ran to her. Zoe was crying, holding her arm, her glasses askew. It hurts, Mommy, she sobbed. Let me see, sweetie, Simone said, gently examining the arm. I think it's just a bad bruise, but we should put ice on it. I can take you all home, Robert offered. We usually take the bus, Zoe informed him. Today we can try something different, Simone said, helping Zoe up. In Simone's small apartment, Robert sat awkwardly on the couch while Simone tended to Zoe's arm in the kitchen. The other girls showed him their bedroom, proudly pointing out their shared bookshelf and toy box. We all sleep in the same room, Zara explained. Mom sleeps on the pull-out couch. She works on her computer right there at night, Zoe added, pointing to a small desk in the corner of the living room. Robert took in the tidy but cramped space, imagining Simone working late into the night after the girls were asleep. Later, when the girls were occupied with a movie, Robert joined Simone in the kitchen. How's Zoe? She'll be fine. Just a bruise, like I thought. Simone sighed. But she's due for new glasses. She's outgrown these, and her prescription has changed. I can help with that, Robert offered. Robert, please, Simone, let me do this one thing. Simone looked tired. Glasses are expensive, and our insurance doesn't cover the full cost. Let me take care of it. After a moment, Simone nodded. Okay, thank you. That small acceptance felt like a major victory. 3 days later, Zoe developed a high fever. The pediatrician prescribed a medication not covered by Simone's insurance, one that cost $200. At 11:30 at night, Robert's phone rang. Hello? He answered groggily. It's me, Simone said, her voice tight with worry. Zoe's fever is worse. The doctor called in a prescription, but I can't. She paused. I can't afford it right now. Text me the pharmacy details, Robert said, already getting out of bed. I'll handle it. An hour later, he knocked softly on Simone's apartment door. She opened it, looking exhausted, still in her work uniform. Thank you, she said, taking the medication. I'll pay you back. No, you won't, Robert said gently. How is she? Sleeping now. The other girls are worried. Robert glanced past her to the living room where he could see the pull-out couch was open, sheets rumpled. You were trying to sleep? I have to be at work at 7, Simone admitted. Call in sick, Robert suggested. I can stay with the girls tomorrow. Simone hesitated. You have a company to run. I can work from here. My laptop is in the car. For a moment, Simone looked like she might refuse. Then her shoulders sagged slightly. Okay, thank you. That night, as Robert drove back to his rented house, he made a decision. He pulled out his phone and called his assistant. I need you to research nursing programs in the Chicago area, he said. Specifically, scholarship opportunities for single parents. He ended the call and looked at the time, 2:15 in the morning. In just a few hours, he would return to Simone's apartment to help with the girls. For the first time in years, Robert felt he was exactly where he needed to be. The next day, Robert arrived at Simone's apartment early with breakfast for everyone. While the girls ate French toast in the kitchen, he set up his laptop on the small desk in the corner of the living room. You really don't have to do this, Simone said, gathering her purse and keys. I want to, Robert replied. Besides, I need to get to know them better. After Simone left for work, Robert spent the morning helping Zoe take her medicine, answering work emails and learning about the girls' daily routine. By lunchtime, he felt like he was getting the hang of it, until his phone rang with a call from his mother. Robert, darling, why haven't you returned our calls? Eleanor Williams's voice was sharp with concern. We saw the news report about you and some children in Oak Grove. What's going on? Mom, I can't talk right now, Robert said, watching Zoe help Zuri with a puzzle. We're driving to Oak Grove right now, his mother announced. Your father and I need to speak with you immediately. What? No, don't. But she had already hung up. Robert stared at his phone in dismay. This was a complication he wasn't ready for. By 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Robert had moved the girls to his rental house. He had just settled them in the living room with a movie when a silver luxury car pulled into the driveway. Stay inside and keep watching the movie, okay? Robert told the girls. I need to talk to some people. He stepped onto the front porch as his parents got out of their car. Eleanor Williams, a slim woman with perfectly styled gray hair, hurried up the walkway. Behind her came Richard Williams, tall and imposing with the same blue eyes as Robert. Robert! Eleanor exclaimed. What is going on? We've been worried sick. Marcus Chen's article is all over the internet. Mom, Dad, Robert said, keeping his voice low. I was going to call you, but things have been moving quickly. Is it true? Richard asked bluntly. Are these children actually yours? Before Robert could answer, the front door opened and Zoe poked her head out. Robert, Zoe needs more water for her medicine, she said, then noticed the strangers. Who are they? Eleanor gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Oh my goodness, she has your dimples. I'll be right there, Zoe, Robert said. These are my parents. Zoe's eyes widened. Like, your mom and dad? Yes, Robert replied. Can you go back inside for a minute? After Zoe disappeared back into the house, Eleanor turned to Robert. "They're identical. How many are there?" "4, Robert said. "Quadruplets. They're 7 years old." "7," Richard repeated, his expression hardening. "And you're only finding out about them now?" "That seems convenient for their mother." "Dad, don't," Robert warned. "Simone had her reasons." "Simone Johnson?" Eleanor said. "Your high school girlfriend?" Robert nodded. "We need to talk, but not here. The girls can hear us." "I want to meet my granddaughters," Eleanor insisted. "And I want to make sure you're not being taken advantage of," Richard added. Robert sighed. "You can meet them, but I need you to be careful what you say." They don't fully understand the situation yet. The next morning, Simone received a call from Diana Foster, the principal at Oak Grove Elementary. "Ms. Johnson, could you come in for a meeting this afternoon? We've had some issues with the girls today." "What kind of issues?" Simone asked, worry immediately filling her chest. "Nothing serious, but there's been some teasing from classmates about the news article. I think we should discuss how to handle it." Simone closed her eyes briefly. "I'll be there." "What time?" 3:30? "And Ms. Johnson, would it be possible for Mr. Williams to join us as well?" After hanging up, Simone called Robert, who was back at his house after meeting with his executive team in Chicago. "The school called," she explained. "The girls are being teased about the Value Mart incident." "I'll be there," Robert said immediately. "Should we go together?" Principal Foster's office was bright and welcoming, with children's artwork on the walls. Diana Foster, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and a no-nonsense manner, greeted them warmly. "Thank you both for coming. I wanted to discuss the situation before it becomes a larger issue." "What exactly happened?" Robert asked. "Some of the children have been asking questions about the newspaper article," Principal Foster explained. "A few made unkind comments about the food stamps card being declined." Simone's face fell. "I was afraid this might happen." "Zara came to the nurse's office crying today," the principal continued, "and Zoe got into an argument defending her sisters." "What can we do?" Robert asked. "I've spoken to the classes about respect and kindness," Principal Foster said. "But I think it would help if you both could talk to the girls about how to respond to questions or comments." "Of course," Simone agreed. "I also wanted to ask—" Principal Foster hesitated. "The article mentioned that Mr. Williams is the girl's father. Should we update their emergency contact information?" Robert and Simone exchanged a look. "Yes," Robert said firmly. "Please add me to their contacts." That evening, as Robert drove back to his house, he passed a large billboard that made him slam on the brakes. There, on a 20-foot display, was Patricia Whitfield's face next to the words, "Whitfield Realty announces Mothers in Need Foundation, supporting single parents in our community." "You've got to be kidding me," he muttered. His phone rang. It was his assistant. "Mr. Williams, the board is requesting an emergency meeting tomorrow. The quarterly projections are down, and they're concerned about your extended absence from headquarters." Robert rubbed his forehead. "Schedule it for tomorrow afternoon. I'll drive in." The next day, while Robert was in Chicago, a delivery truck arrived at Simone's apartment. The driver unloaded box after box of expensive toys, art supplies, and electronics. "Special delivery for the Johnson girls," he announced, "from Robert Williams." Simone stared at the mountain of gifts filling her small living room. When the girls got home from school, they squealed with excitement. "Look at all this stuff," Zoe exclaimed. "Is it really all for us?" Zara asked, already opening a deluxe art set. "A tablet for each of us?" Zoe gasped, finding 4 identical devices. Simone watched her daughter's excitement with mixed feelings. When Robert called that evening, she stepped outside to take the call privately. "The girls love the gifts," she said, "but Robert, this is too much." "I wanted to make them happy," he replied, "especially after what they're dealing with at school." "I appreciate that, but we need to talk about boundaries," Simone said firmly. I don't want them thinking they can get anything they want just because their father is wealthy. I'm trying to make up for lost time, Robert explained. 7 years of birthdays and Christmases I missed. I understand that, but this isn't the way, Simone insisted. We need to be on the same page about parenting. After a moment of silence, Robert said, You're right. I should have talked to you first. Thank you, Simone said, relieved. By the way, your mother called me today. She invited us all to dinner tomorrow night. The dinner at an expensive restaurant in North Oak Grove was tense from the start. Richard Williams barely spoke while Eleanor fussed over the quadruplets, asking them endless questions. You're all so beautiful, she gushed, and so well-behaved for your age. Thank you, Simone said. They know how to behave in restaurants. Robert tells us you're a receptionist at the hospital, Richard finally spoke. Is that fulfilling work? I enjoy helping people, Simone replied evenly, and it provides for my daughters. Our granddaughters, Eleanor corrected gently, though we're just meeting them now. The tension at the table grew. The girls, sensing the adults' discomfort, became quieter. I always wanted to be a nurse, Simone offered, trying to keep the conversation positive. Maybe someday I'll go back to school. That's a wonderful goal, Eleanor said, though her tone suggested she didn't believe it would happen. After the main course, while the girls were distracted with dessert, Eleanor leaned toward Simone. I hope you don't blame me for what happened all those years ago, she said quietly. I truly believed I was doing what was best for Robert's future. Simone froze. What do you mean? When I called you before Robert left for college, Eleanor explained, I simply felt you were both too young for such a serious relationship. Robert stared at his mother. You did what? I encouraged Simone to break things off, Eleanor admitted. Robert had such a bright future ahead at MIT, and long-distance relationships rarely work at that age. We broke up because we both agreed long-distance would be hard, Robert said slowly. Not because my mother interfered. Well, I might have emphasized the difficulties, Eleanor said. Simone stood up abruptly. Girls, please finish your ice cream. We need to go soon. But, Mommy, Zuri began. Soon, Simone repeated firmly. 20 minutes later, Simone gathered the girls and their coats. Thank you for dinner, she said stiffly. But we need to get home. It's a school night. After they left, Robert turned to his parents. Do you realize what you've done? Your interference 15 years ago is part of why I never knew I had daughters. You can't blame us for that, Richard protested. She should have told you about the pregnancy. She tried, Robert said, but Mom had already convinced her she would ruin my future. Then she found out she was having quadruplets and made the hardest decision of her life. Robert, darling, we only wanted what was best for you, Eleanor said, reaching for his hand. Robert pulled away. No, you wanted what you thought was best, but you were wrong. And now I've missed 7 years with my children. Eleanor had tears in her eyes. We can fix this. Get a lawyer, establish paternity officially. Stop, Robert said. Just stop trying to control everything. Simone and I are figuring this out together. We don't need your interference. As Robert drove home alone, he thought about Simone's face when his mother revealed her manipulation. He needed to talk to her, to explain that he hadn't known about his mother's call, but when he tried calling, she didn't answer. Back at his rental house, Robert sat on the porch steps, staring at his phone. Old wounds had been reopened tonight, and he wasn't sure how to heal them. 3 months passed since the Value Mart incident that changed everything. The crisp autumn air brought colorful leaves to Oak Grove streets as Robert drove to his office in the renovated garage of his rental house. His temporary living arrangement had become more permanent, with furniture filling the once empty rooms and photos of 4 identical girls now displayed prominently on the walls. Robert adjusted his laptop camera for his morning video meeting. On screen, 5 executives in suits waited for him from the Chicago headquarters. Third quarter numbers look strong in most regions, said Janet. his chief financial officer. "But Oak Grove's store is down 12% since Super Save opened across town." "That was expected," Robert replied calmly. "Their grand opening promotions are aggressive, but they won't last." "The board is concerned about your continued absence," said Michael, head of operations. 3 months is a long time to run things remotely." "I come to headquarters twice a week," Robert reminded them. "And the new technology center project is moving forward here. My presence in Oak Grove is necessary right now." After the meeting ended, Robert checked his watch. Today was his day to pick up the girls from school. The schedule he and Simone had worked out gave him the girls every weekend and 2 weeknights. It wasn't enough, but it was a start. His phone pinged with a message from Simone. "Got my acceptance letter!" Robert smiled. After weeks of encouragement, Simone had finally applied to Value Mart's single-parent scholarship program. She didn't know that he had created the program specifically with her in mind, though he suspected she had her doubts. He texted back, "Congratulations! We should celebrate tonight." At Oak Grove Elementary, Robert waited with other parents outside the main entrance. Some still stared when he arrived, but most had grown accustomed to seeing the billionaire CEO at school pickup. The bell rang, and children poured out of the doors. 4 identical girls in purple headbands spotted him and ran over. "Robert!" they called in unison. He still felt a rush of emotion every time he saw them. In 3 months, he had learned to tell them apart without the colored headbands, recognizing the subtle differences in their expressions and mannerisms. "How was school?" he asked as they walked to his car. "Ms. Peterson gave me a gold star for my science project," Zoe announced proudly. "I finished my art piece for the school show," Zara added. "Dad, can we stop for ice cream?" Zoe asked. Robert paused. She had called him Dad for the first time, not Robert. The other girls didn't seem to notice, but his heart skipped a beat. "Sure," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "Ice cream sounds great." That evening, Simone arrived at Robert's house to pick up the girls. She found them in the kitchen, helping Robert prepare dinner. "Mom!" Zuri called, running to hug her. "Robert's teaching us to make spaghetti." "I can see that," Simone laughed, noting the flour on Zuri's face. "It looks like you're wearing more than you're cooking." "Congratulations on your acceptance," Robert said. "Will you stay for dinner?" "We're celebrating." Simone hesitated, then nodded. "That would be nice. Thank you." Over dinner, the girls chattered excitedly about their day while Simone shared details about the nursing program. "Classes start in January," she explained. 2 evenings a week and Saturday mornings for the first semester. "What about work?" Robert asked. "I can keep my day job at the hospital, but I'll have to cut back on the evening customer service hours." "And the girls?" he asked quietly. Simone sighed. "That's the part I'm still figuring out. Mrs. Miller can't watch them every evening, and after-school care is expensive." Robert had been waiting for this opening. "I have an idea about that." The town hall meeting at Oak Grove Community Center was packed with residents from all neighborhoods. Marcus Chen sat in the front row with his notebook, while Mayor Thompson stood at the podium. "Tonight we're discussing the future of Oak Grove," the mayor announced. "We've all read Mr. Chen's articles about the economic divide in our town. It's time we address these issues directly." Several residents spoke about rising housing costs and the difficulty of finding affordable apartments. Others mentioned the lack of jobs in South Oak Grove. When it was Robert's turn to speak, he approached the podium confidently. "As many of you know, I grew up here in Oak Grove before leaving for college 15 years ago. When I returned 3 months ago, I was shocked by how divided our community had become." He displayed architectural renderings on the large screen. "Value Mart is committed to being part of the solution. I'm announcing today that we'll build our new technology center right here in South Oak Grove, bringing 200 jobs to this area." The room erupted in applause and excited whispers. "Construction begins next month on the old factory site on Maple Street," Robert continued. We're partnering with local contractors and will prioritize hiring Oak Grove residents." From the back of the room, a voice called out, "What about affordable housing?" Not everyone can afford North Oak Grove prices anymore. To everyone's surprise, Patricia Whitfield stood up from her seat. Whitfield Realty is launching a new affordable housing development adjacent to the Technology Center, she announced. 20% of units will be priced for moderate-income families. Murmurs spread through the crowd. Patricia's rehabilitation efforts were well known by now, though many remained skeptical of her sincerity. After the official meeting ended, Simone approached the podium where Robert was gathering his papers. "That was impressive," she said. "The Technology Center will make a real difference here." "That's the goal," he replied. "How do you feel about Patricia's housing announcement?" Simone shrugged. "Time will tell if she's sincere, but affordable housing is needed, regardless of who builds it." Robert nodded, then lowered his voice. "Have you thought more about my childcare suggestion?" "Converting part of your house into a home office and hiring a nanny is generous," Simone acknowledged. "But it would mean the girls spending more time at your place than mine." "They'd still be with you on weekends and the nights I work late in Chicago," Robert said. "It would only be for the evenings you have class." "It feels like a big change," Simone admitted. "Think about it," Robert said gently. "There's no rush to decide." The following Saturday, Robert invited Simone to join him and the girls for lunch at Parkside Cafe. After they ordered, he found himself watching her as she helped Zuri with her menu. The sunlight through the window caught the hints of gold in her brown eyes he had never forgotten even after 15 years apart. "What?" Simone asked, noticing his gaze. "Nothing," Robert said quickly. "Just thinking." "About what?" Robert hesitated, then decided to be honest. "About us. About how different things might have been if my mother hadn't interfered." Simone looked away. "We can't change the past, Robert." "I know, but I want you to know something." He took a deep breath. "I never stopped loving you, Simone. Even all these years, I never found anyone who made me feel the way you did." Simone's eyes widened. "Robert!" She was interrupted by a crash and a cry from across the restaurant. Zara had tripped while returning from the restroom and hit her head on the corner of a table. Both Robert and Simone rushed to her side. Blood trickled from a small cut on Zara's forehead as she cried. "I'll get some ice," a waiter offered. "Should we go to the emergency room?" Robert asked, his voice tight with worry. Simone examined the cut carefully. "It's not deep enough for stitches, but we should clean it properly." "Let's take her to the urgent care center down the street." At the urgent care, Robert and Simone worked as a seamless team. He kept the other 3 girls calm in the waiting room while Simone accompanied Zara to see the doctor. When they emerged with Zara sporting a small bandage and a brave smile, the doctor followed them out. "You have a brave little girl here," the doctor told them, "and you two make a good team." She told me all about how her mom and dad take care of her and her sisters. Robert and Simone exchanged a look but didn't correct him. Later, as they walked back to their cars with the girls between them, Simone turned to Robert. "I've been thinking about your child care suggestion," she said. "It makes sense for the girls to stay with you on my class nights." "The nanny idea is good too. Someone consistent who can help with homework." "Really?" Robert tried to hide his surprise. "Yes," Simone said, "but I want to be clear about something. This arrangement is about what's best for the girls and my education. It doesn't mean anything else." "I understand," Robert said, though the disappointment was evident in his voice. Simone's expression softened. "I care about you, Robert, but we're still learning how to be co-parents. That needs to be our priority right now." "You're right," he agreed. "Co-parents first." As Simone helped the girls into her car, Zoe looked between her parents with a thoughtful expression. "Are you and Dad friends now?" she asked Simone. "Yes," Simone replied after a moment. "We're friends." "Good," Zoe declared, "because Zara's accident was scary, but you and Dad fixed it together. Like a team." Simone met Robert's eyes over the top of the car. Something passed between them, an understanding, a possibility, a beginning. "Like a team," she echoed softly. 6 months into their co-parenting arrangement, Simone hurried down the hallway of Oak Grove Community College. Her nursing textbooks were heavy in her arms as she entered the classroom just before the professor arrived. "Did you finish the assignment?" whispered Jen, her study partner. "Last night after the girls went to bed," Simone replied, pulling out her perfectly organized notes. Professor Miller handed back their latest exams. When Simone received hers, she smiled at the 98% score at the top. Her hard work was paying off. After class, Simone checked her phone and found 3 messages from Robert. The first was a photo of all 4 girls eating breakfast at his kitchen table. The second was a reminder about their parent-teacher conferences tomorrow. The third made her stomach drop. "Call me when you're out of class. Important news about your building." Simone quickly dialed his number. "What's happening with my building?" she asked when he answered. "I just heard from a contact in real estate," Robert explained. "Landmark Properties bought your apartment complex. They're converting everything to luxury condos. Residents will get official notice tomorrow. 60 days to relocate." Simone leaned against the wall, suddenly dizzy. 60 days? How am I supposed to find a new place that quickly? Affordable rentals in Oak Grove are almost impossible to find now. "I know," Robert said. "That's why I wanted to tell you right away." "I need to think," Simone said. "I'll call you back later." She ended the call and stared at her phone. Housing prices in Oak Grove had been rising steadily since Robert announced the Technology Center project. While the construction was creating jobs and revitalizing South Oak Grove, it was also making housing more expensive. At Value Mart headquarters in Chicago the next day, Robert sat in an emergency board meeting. The atmosphere was tense as executives reviewed the latest sales reports. "SuperSave's opening has hit us harder than projected," Michael explained, pointing to a chart. "Our Oak Grove location is down 27% this month. Their prices are impossible to match without operating at a loss," added Janet. Robert frowned. "We can't compete on price alone. We need a different approach." "The board is concerned about your focus," said George, the oldest board member. "Your attention seems divided between the company and your personal situation." "My personal situation is my family," Robert replied firmly, "and I'm fully committed to Value Mart's success. We built this company on community service and fair prices. We'll adapt to this competition without compromising those values." After the meeting, Robert checked his watch and swore under his breath. He was going to miss Zoe's science fair if he didn't leave immediately. At Oak Grove Elementary, Zoe stood nervously beside her project display. Her experiment comparing different types of soil for plant growth had taken weeks of careful measurements and observation. "Where's Dad?" she asked Simone, looking toward the entrance for the 5th time. "He's coming from Chicago," Simone explained gently. "There might be traffic." As the judges moved from table to table, Zoe's shoulders slumped. When they reached her project, she explained her experiment beautifully, just as she had practiced with Robert the weekend before. The judges seemed impressed, but Zoe's eyes kept drifting to the door. When the awards were announced and Zoe received 2nd place, Simone took photos and the other girls cheered. But the empty chair next to them remained a painful reminder of who was missing. By the time Robert arrived, the science fair was over and most families had left. He found Simone and the girls in the school parking lot. "I'm so sorry," he said, rushing toward them. "The board meeting ran long and then there was an accident on the highway." Zoe didn't meet his eyes. "It's okay. You're busy." "It's not okay," Robert said, kneeling down to her level. "I missed something important to you, and I'm really sorry." "I got 2nd place," Zoe said, still not looking at him. "That's amazing!" Robert exclaimed. "I knew you would do well." Your project was excellent. You didn't see it, Zoe pointed out. Robert winced. You're right. I didn't, and I can't change that. But I'd really like to see it now if you'll show me. Zoe hesitated, then nodded. It's still set up in the gym. As they walked back toward the school, Simone touched Robert's arm. The girls and I need to talk to you about something important, she said quietly, about our apartment. Later that evening, after Zoe had proudly shown her project and they had celebrated with pizza at Robert's house, the girls were watching a movie in the living room. Simone and Robert sat at the kitchen table talking quietly. I've looked at 10 apartments this week, Simone said. Nothing in our price range, at least nothing decent. You know my offer stands, Robert said. There's plenty of room here. Simone shook her head. I can't move in with you, Robert. It would confuse the girls about our relationship. Is our relationship so clear to you? Robert asked. Because I'm still trying to figure it out. Simone sighed. We're co-parents, friends. And that's all you want us to be? Before Simone could answer, they heard a crash from the living room followed by crying. They rushed in to find Zuri on the floor, having fallen off the couch. The DVD case she'd been holding was broken. I'm sorry, she cried. I broke Dad's movie. It's just a plastic case, Robert assured her, helping her up. Are you hurt? Zuri shook her head, sniffling. I wanted to read what it said on the back. As Robert comforted Zuri, Zoe approached Simone. Mom, are we going to have to move away? She asked. Simone blinked in surprise. You heard us talking? Zoe nodded. Zoe said if we can't find an apartment, we might have to leave Oak Grove. Robert looked up sharply. Leave Oak Grove? Simone, is that what you're considering? Simone hesitated. It's one option. Housing is more affordable in the next town. But our school is here, Zara protested, and Dad is here. I'm trying to figure out the best solution, Simone explained. But yes, we might need to move a little farther away. Why can't we just live here? Zoe asked logically. There are 5 bedrooms. It's complicated, Simone began, because you and Dad aren't married? Zoe asked. Robert and Simone exchanged a startled look. Yes, Simone admitted, and because I need to make sure we can stand on our own. But you always tell us to ask for help when we need it, Zuri pointed out. Simone smiled sadly. You're right. I do say that. I have an idea, Robert said suddenly. What if I help you find a place near here? I could assist with the deposit, but it would be your apartment, your name on the lease. That could work, Simone said slowly, but most places near here are still too expensive for us long-term. What about the apartments near your technology center? Zara suggested. The ones Patricia is building? They won't be ready for at least 6 more months, Robert replied. I need to think about this, Simone said. We still have time before we need to move. The next day, Robert took all 4 girls to Value Mart. He wanted to show them the store and explain why he had missed the science fair. This is where I started, he told them as they walked through the quiet store. One small grocery store that grew into hundreds. Why are there so few customers? Zoe asked, noticing the empty aisles. A new store opened across town, Robert explained. Super Save. They have lower prices right now, so people are shopping there instead. Is Value Mart going to close? Zoe asked worriedly. No, Robert assured them, but we need to figure out how to do better, to give people reasons to shop here instead. The girls looked thoughtful as they toured the store. Later, over lunch in Robert's office, they began offering suggestions. You should have someone to watch kids while parents shop, Zoe said. Mom always says shopping takes twice as long with us. And meal kits, Zoe added excitedly, with all the ingredients already measured for busy families. Art classes while parents shop, Zara suggested. I'd love that. And maybe a small animal area, Zuri said shyly, where kids can pet rabbits or guinea pigs. Robert listened, amazed by their insights. These are excellent ideas. Truly. Will they help beat Super Save? Zoe asked. They might, Robert said thoughtfully, because they're not about being cheaper. They're about understanding what families really need. That evening, Robert called his executive team. I want to implement a new family-focused strategy in Oak Grove, he told them. If it works there, we'll roll it out nationwide. He described the initiatives, crediting his daughters for the inspiration. The board won't like spending money on services that don't directly increase sales, Michael warned. The board hired me to lead this company, Robert replied, and I believe this is the right direction. We don't need to be the cheapest store. We need to be the store that truly serves our community. After hanging up, Robert stared out his office window at the Oak Grove streets. Something his daughter Zoe had said kept repeating in his mind. Why can't we just live here? Indeed, why couldn't they? The housing crisis might be the push they needed to become a real family. But he knew Simone valued her independence too much to agree, at least for now. His phone buzzed with a text from Simone. Found a possible apartment. Can you come see it tomorrow? It's close to your house. Robert smiled as he typed his reply. Absolutely. Just tell me when and where. Maybe this was the middle ground they both needed, close enough to co-parent effectively, but separate enough for Simone to maintain her independence. It wasn't everything he wanted, but it was a start. The apartment Simone had found was perfect. A 2-bedroom unit just 3 blocks from Robert's house. It was small but bright, with a kitchen that opened to a living room and a tiny balcony overlooking a park. Best of all, it was within walking distance of the girls' school and close to the community college where Simone attended her nursing classes. What do you think? She asked Robert as they stood in the empty living room. It's more expensive than our old place, but with your help on the deposit, I can manage the monthly rent with my hospital salary. I think it's great, Robert said, looking out the window at the tree-lined street. The girls will love being so close to the park. Simone smiled, relief evident in her expression. I'll sign the lease tomorrow. We can move in next week. By early summer, they had settled into a comfortable routine. Simone's nursing program was demanding but rewarding, and with Robert's consistent help with childcare, she maintained excellent grades. The nanny Robert had hired, Ms. Donna, was a retired teacher who supervised homework and cooked dinner on the evenings Simone had class. One warm evening in June, Simone arrived at Robert's house to find the girls in the backyard, setting up decorations. Colorful streamers hung from tree branches, and a happy birthday banner was strung across the patio. Mom! Zoe called, running to greet her. We're planning our birthday party. Dad said we can invite our whole class. That sounds like quite a party, Simone said, looking for Robert. She found him in the kitchen, making notes on a clipboard. 8 years old, he said without looking up. I can't believe they'll be 8 next month. Their first birthday with you, Simone observed. Robert nodded, a mix of emotions crossing his face. I want to make it special. You don't need to go overboard, Simone cautioned. They'll be happy just having you there. I know, Robert agreed. But it's also their first birthday not in your apartment. I want them to feel at home here too. Later that week, Robert drove Simone to Value Mart for a meeting with his executive team. The store had been transformed in recent months. A colorful play area now occupied one corner, where parents could leave their children under supervision while they shopped. Meal kits lined one wall, and a schedule of classes, everything from art for kids to cooking for teenagers, was posted near the entrance. Your family initiatives have been incredibly successful, Janet told them as they gathered in the conference room. Customer loyalty is up 30% since implementation. We're ready to roll this out to all Value Mart locations. The credit belongs to Simone, Robert said. She helped refine the ideas and made sure they actually worked for real families. Simone shook her head modestly. The initial concepts came from the girls. I just helped implement them. As the meeting concluded, Michael handed Simone an envelope. The board wanted me to personally deliver this. It's a formal thank you for your contributions to Value Mart's family programs." Later, in Robert's car, Simone opened the envelope to find a check for $25,000. "I can't accept this," she said immediately. "You earned it," Robert insisted. "Those programs are saving Value Mart. Super Save can't compete with the community we're building." Simone stared at the check, conflicted. "This would cover a full year of rent. Or whatever else you need," Robert said carefully. "Consider it back payment for all the consulting work you've been doing." The following day, Simone received another envelope, this one delivered to her workplace at Oak Grove Hospital. Inside was a letter from Heartland Healthcare, a major corporation with hospitals across the Midwest. "We are pleased to offer you our prestigious Nursing Advancement Scholarship," it read. "This full-ride program includes a guaranteed position at our flagship hospital upon graduation. Recipients must relocate to our Minneapolis campus by September 1st. Simone read the letter twice, her heart racing. A full scholarship and guaranteed job would provide the financial security she'd always dreamed of for her family. But Minneapolis was 4 hours away from Oak Grove. And from Robert. Construction on the Value Mart Technology Center was nearing completion. The old factory building had been transformed into a modern facility with glass walls and solar panels. Robert drove past it every day, proud to see how it was changing the south side of Oak Grove. One afternoon, as he was inspecting the site with the project manager, a sleek red convertible pulled up. Patricia Whitfield stepped out, dressed immaculately in a business suit. "Robert," she called, waving a folder. "Do you have a moment?" The Patricia who approached him was markedly different from the woman who had humiliated Simone at Value Mart 7 months ago. Her smile seemed genuine, and she carried herself with a quieter confidence. "I wanted to share the progress on our affordable housing project," she said, opening the folder to show him architectural renderings. "We break ground next week, and I've secured additional funding to increase the percentage of moderate-income units." Robert studied the plans with interest. "This looks promising. Why the change of heart about affordable housing?" Patricia hesitated. "Let's just say I've done some reflecting. And some therapy." She smiled briefly. "But I also see a good business opportunity. The technology center will bring workers who need housing. My development meets that need while also addressing a community problem." "Smart business," Robert acknowledged. "Speaking of business," Patricia continued, "I have a proposal for a joint venture between Value Mart and Whitfield Realty. A small grocery within the housing development, perhaps. A win-win for both our companies." Robert's phone rang before he could respond. "Excuse me," he said, checking the screen. "It's my mother. I should take this." After a brief conversation, he turned back to Patricia with a troubled expression. "I'm sorry, but I need to cut this short. My parents are arriving tomorrow, a surprise visit for the girls' birthday planning." "Of course," Patricia said, handing him the folder. "Look these over when you have time." "And Robert? I hope things go well with your parents. I've learned how complicated family relationships can be." The next day, Eleanor and Richard Williams arrived at Robert's house just as Simone was dropping off the girls after school. "Grandma! Grandpa!" the quadruplets called, running to greet them. Eleanor bent down for hugs while Richard stood back, nodding politely. His relationship with his granddaughters had improved over the past months, but he still maintained a certain distance. "What a lovely surprise," Simone said, though her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. "We couldn't miss helping plan the girls' first birthday with their father," Eleanor explained. 8 years old, such an important age. Over dinner, the conversation revolved around birthday plans until Richard cleared his throat. "Son, your mother and I have been discussing the situation," he began. "We think it's time to formalize the co-parenting arrangement with proper legal documentation." An uncomfortable silence fell over the table. "What kind of documentation?" Simone asked carefully. "Custody agreements, support arrangements," Richard explained. "Nothing unusual, just the standard legal protections." "We don't need legal papers," Robert said firmly. "Simone and I are managing just fine." "But what if circumstances change?" Eleanor asked, glancing at Simone. "What if one of you needed to relocate, for instance?" Simone's fork paused halfway to her mouth. "Why would you ask that?" Eleanor smiled innocently. "Just thinking ahead. Career opportunities often require flexibility." Later, while the girls were showing their grandparents their bedrooms, Simone pulled Robert aside in the kitchen. "Your mother knows something," she said quietly, "about the Minneapolis offer." Robert looked surprised. "How would she—" "I don't know," Simone interrupted, "but she's fishing for information." "Are you considering it?" Robert asked, his voice tight. "Moving to Minneapolis?" "I haven't decided," Simone admitted. "It's an incredible opportunity, but it would mean taking the girls 4 hours away from me," Robert finished, "after I've just found them." "That's not fair," Simone protested. "I've been raising them alone for 7 years. I put my dreams on hold all this time." "I thought your dream was to become a nurse here in Oak Grove," Robert said. "You're already doing that with the scholarship I—" He stopped abruptly. "The scholarship you what?" Simone asked, her eyes narrowing. Before Robert could answer, Zuri came into the kitchen. "Dad, Grandma wants to know where you keep the birthday decorations." "Tell her I'll be right there," Robert said, his eyes still on Simone. After Zuri left, Simone crossed her arms. "Did you create that scholarship program just for me?" "Does it matter?" Robert asked. "You earned it. You're top of your class." "It matters if you're using it to control where I live and work," Simone said, her voice rising slightly. "That's not what I'm doing," Robert insisted. "I'm trying to support your dreams right here, where our family is together." "Our family," Simone repeated. "Robert, I've been handling this alone for a long time. I'm not sure I remember how to let someone else help make the big decisions." "Then let me help you remember," Robert said softly, stepping closer. "Because I'm here now, Simone. And I want us to decide things together, as a family." In the living room, they could hear the girls laughing with their grandparents, the sound of party decorations being unpacked. The birthday that should be bringing them together was instead highlighting the unresolved questions in their relationship. "I need time to think," Simone said, stepping back. "The Minneapolis program doesn't start until September. I don't have to decide right away." But as she gathered her purse to leave, they both knew the decision loomed over them like a storm cloud. Whatever choice Simone made would determine not just her future, but the shape of their family for years to come. The day of the girls' 8th birthday arrived with perfect summer weather. Robert's backyard was transformed with colorful balloons, streamers, and a large banner reading, "Happy 8th birthday, Zoe, Zoe, Zara, and Zuri." 4 identical cakes, each decorated to match each girl's personality, sat on a table under a tent. Simone arrived early to help with final preparations, carefully avoiding the topic of Minneapolis. They had barely spoken since their disagreement 3 days ago. "The decorations look amazing," she said, arranging gift bags on a table. "The girls will love it." "I hope so," Robert replied, hanging the last of the streamers. "I want their first birthday with me to be special." The quadruplets raced outside wearing matching but differently colored dresses. Zoe in blue, Zoe in green, Zara in purple, and Zuri in yellow. "Mom! Dad!" Zoe called excitedly. "Everything looks perfect!" "When do our friends arrive?" Zara asked. "In about 30 minutes, Simone answered, checking her watch. "Why don't you help me set up the games?" As the girls organized party supplies, Robert's parents emerged from the house. Eleanor looked perfectly coiffed despite the summer heat, while Richard wore a golf shirt that seemed too formal for a children's birthday party. "The yard looks festive," Eleanor commented, surveying the decorations, "though I still think the country club would have been more appropriate." "The girls wanted the party at home," Robert reminded her. "Of course," Eleanor said with a tight smile. "I've just never been to a backyard birthday party before." By noon, the yard was filled with classmates, parents, and a few neighbors. Ms. Donna the nanny helped serve food while the children played games on the lawn. Marcus Chen, now a friend of the family, captured photos for a feature in the Oak Grove Chronicle. "Your family initiatives at Value Mart are the talk of the town," Marcus told Robert as they watched the children play. "My editor wants to do a follow-up to my original article. The programs have been successful," Robert acknowledged, "though our overall sales are still down because of Super Save's pricing." "Sometimes success isn't measured in sales figures," Marcus observed. Their conversation was interrupted by the sound of a car door slamming. Patricia Whitfield walked up the driveway wearing an expensive dress and carrying 4 large, beautifully wrapped boxes. Behind her, a young man with a professional camera followed. "Happy birthday!" Patricia called cheerfully. "I hope I'm not too late for the celebration." Robert and Simone exchanged alarmed glances. "Patricia," Robert said, walking over to meet her, "we didn't expect you." "I couldn't miss the chance to wish your lovely daughters a happy birthday," Patricia said, gesturing to her photographer. "Jake works for my social media team. He'll just take a few photos for my foundation's community outreach page." Robert frowned. "I'm sorry, but we didn't invite you or approve any photos for your social media." Patricia's smile faltered slightly. "But surely you want to support my foundation's work." The Mothers in Need project has gained significant attention since I announced it. "Your foundation's promotion doesn't belong at my daughter's private birthday party," Robert said firmly. "I'll have to ask you to leave." "Robert," Patricia lowered her voice, "don't be difficult. This is a wonderful opportunity for both of us. The community would love to see us working together." Marcus approached, his journalist instincts activated. "Ms. Whitfield, are you using these children's birthday for publicity without their parents' permission?" Patricia's eyes narrowed at Marcus. "I'm simply bringing gifts to celebrate the girls' special day." "The same girls you publicly humiliated 7 months ago?" Marcus asked pointedly. Guests began to stare, sensing the tension. Simone moved closer to the girls who were watching the exchange with confused expressions. "That incident was unfortunate," Patricia said stiffly. "I've apologized and learned from my mistake. Yet here you are," Marcus continued, "bringing a photographer to a private event without permission." Patricia turned to address the growing crowd. "I simply want to show my support for this wonderful family, especially with such big changes potentially ahead for them." Simone stepped forward. "What do you mean by that?" "Well," Patricia said, her voice dripping with fake concern, "I heard through my healthcare industry connections that you've been offered a prestigious position in Minneapolis. Such a wonderful opportunity, though it would mean relocating the girls away from their father, of course." Gasps and whispers spread through the guests. The quadruplets looked up at their mother with wide, frightened eyes. "We're moving to Minneapolis?" Zuri asked in a small voice. "No, honey," Simone assured her quickly. "I received a job offer, but I haven't made any decisions." "You didn't tell us," Zoe said, hurt evident in her voice. "Because I wanted to think it through first," Simone explained, kneeling down to the girl's level. Robert's father stepped forward. "This is precisely why I suggested formal custody arrangements. Important decisions about the children's future can't be made unilaterally." "Dad, not now," Robert warned. "No, he's right," Patricia interjected. "Children need stability. Moving them away from their father after he's only just found them would be terribly unfair." "You don't get to have an opinion about my family," Simone said, standing to face Patricia. "This is a private matter between Robert and me. And yet you were considering taking his children hours away without discussing it with him first," Richard pointed out. "That's enough," Robert said firmly. "This is neither the time nor place for this discussion." The party had come to a complete standstill. Children stood awkwardly watching the adults argue while parents whispered among themselves. Suddenly Zoe stepped into the center of the group. Though just 8 years old as of today, she stood straight and spoke clearly. "Stop talking about us like we're not here," she said, her voice cutting through the tension. It's our birthday, and you're ruining it." All eyes turned to the small girl in the blue dress. "My mom is the best mom in the world," Zoe continued. "She's worked 2 jobs for 7 years to take care of us. She reads to us even when she's tired. She helps us with homework. She never misses anything important." Zoe turned to face Richard and Patricia directly. "And she didn't know my dad was our dad until the store that day. It wasn't her fault. So stop being mean to her." The yard fell silent. Eleanor's eyes filled with tears, while Richard looked uncomfortably at his shoes. Patricia seemed genuinely taken aback by the child's eloquence and passion. In the silence, Robert's phone rang loudly. He pulled it from his pocket, intending to ignore it, then frowned at the screen. "I need to take this," he said, stepping away from the group. "Janet, what's wrong?" The crowd began to break up, parents leading children back to the activities while casting curious glances at Simone and the quadruplets. When Robert returned minutes later, his face was grave. "Super Save just announced a new 25% off promotion," he said quietly to Simone. "Our sales have plummeted today." "What will you do?" she asked. Robert looked around at the party, at his daughters, his parents, the neighbors, and even Patricia, and something shifted in his expression. "Everyone!" he called, his voice carrying across the yard. "May I have your attention for a moment?" Guests gathered closer as Robert stood on the porch steps. "First, I want to apologize for the disruption to my daughter's party. This should be a day of celebration." He looked at the 4 birthday girls standing together. "Zoe, Zara, Zuri, you are the most important people in my life, and I'm so proud to be your father." Then he addressed the whole group. "Since returning to Oak Grove 7 months ago, I've seen both the challenges and the potential of this community. The Technology Center was just the beginning of Value Mart's commitment to Oak Grove." He paused, making a decision in that moment. "Today, I'm announcing that Value Mart will relocate its corporate headquarters to Oak Grove, bringing hundreds of additional jobs. We'll convert the community center building on Maple Street rather than building new, revitalizing existing infrastructure." Excited murmurs spread through the crowd. Marcus was already taking notes. "Additionally," Robert continued, "I want to address some personal matters." "Patricia, while I appreciate your foundation's work, I don't appreciate you using my family for publicity or revealing private information about Simone's job opportunity." Patricia's face flushed red. "Dad," Robert turned to his father, "I understand your concern about formal custody arrangements, but Simone and I will make those decisions together, as we have been. She's been an incredible mother to our daughters, and I trust her completely." Robert finally looked at Simone. "Whatever Simone decides about the Minneapolis opportunity, I'll support her. If that means developing a long-distance co-parenting arrangement, we'll make it work. Because what matters most is that our daughters know they're loved by both parents regardless of geography." The party gradually returned to its celebratory atmosphere after Robert's speech. Children resumed playing games, adults mingled, and the crisis seemed averted. Patricia left shortly afterward, her expensive gifts left unopened on a side table. Later, as the party wound down and the last guests departed, Robert found Simone sitting alone on the porch swing. "Quite a birthday party," she said as he sat beside her. "Not exactly what I planned," Robert admitted. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the sun begin to set. "Did you mean what you said?" Simone finally asked. "About supporting my decision even if I choose Minneapolis?" "Yes," Robert said. "I won't pretend I want you to go. But I won't stand in your way either." Simone turned to face him. "Why would you relocate your entire company headquarters here? Is it just because of the girls?" "Partly," Robert admitted, "but also because Oak Grove needs it, and because this is where I want to be, regardless of what you decide." Inside the house, they could hear the quadruplets chattering excitedly with Ms. Donna as they gathered their birthday gifts. "I haven't accepted the Minneapolis offer," Simone said softly. You haven't? She shook her head. I keep thinking about what I'd be giving up. Not just for the girls, but for myself, too. What do you mean? Robert asked. I've been doing this alone for 7 years, Robert, Simone said, echoing her words from their earlier argument. Always carrying the whole weight by myself. It's become part of who I am, this fierce independence. She looked toward the house, where their daughter's laughter spilled out through open windows. But sometimes I wonder if being so independent is really about strength, or if it's about fear. Fear of letting someone else in. Fear of being hurt if they leave. I'm not leaving, Simone, Robert said quietly. Not you, not the girls, not ever again. As the evening light faded, Simone made a decision she never thought she'd make 7 months ago in that Value Mart checkout line. I think I'm going to decline the Minneapolis offer, she said. The official letter declining the Heartland Healthcare Scholarship sat on Simone's kitchen table. She read it one more time before sealing it in an envelope. You're sure about this? Robert asked, watching her from across the table. I'm sure, Simone replied. I've accepted the local scholarship instead. It doesn't have a guaranteed job at the end, but it lets me finish my nursing degree here in Oak Grove. Robert nodded, relief evident in his expression. The girls will be happy. They've been worried since the birthday party. I know, Simone sighed. I should have talked to them about it sooner. And to you. What made you decide to stay? Robert asked. Simone thought for a moment. Partly the girls. They're thriving here with both of us involved. But also, I'm building something here. Not just with you, but for myself. I have a support system now. Friends. A future. 2 weeks later, construction crews began renovating the old community center on Maple Street. The abandoned building that had once been the heart of South Oak Grove was getting new life as Value Mart's headquarters. Robert stood on the sidewalk with the project manager reviewing blueprints. We'll preserve the original facade, the manager explained, but the interior will be completely modernized. Make sure we hire locally for as much of the work as possible, Robert instructed. I want this project to bring jobs to the neighborhood right away. As they talked, a red convertible pulled up to the curb. Patricia Whitfield stepped out, dressed more simply than usual in slacks and a blouse. Robert, she called, approaching cautiously. Do you have a minute? Robert excused himself from the manager. Patricia, what can I do for you? I wanted to apologize for my behavior at the birthday party, she said. It was inappropriate and self-serving. Yes, it was, Robert agreed. Patricia nodded, accepting the blunt response. I've been doing a lot of thinking since then. And therapy, she added with a small smile. Twice a week now. I'm glad to hear that, Robert said. I also wanted you to know that my affordable housing project is moving forward, Patricia continued, without publicity stunts or social media campaigns. Just actual housing for people who need it. Robert studied her face, looking for signs of the usual calculation. To his surprise, she seemed genuine. That's good news for Oak Grove, he said finally. I've also started volunteering at the women's shelter on 5th Street, Patricia added. It's been eye-opening. She hesitated, then continued more quietly. 20 years ago, I stayed in a shelter like that for 3 weeks, after I left my first husband, before I built my business and married into the Whitfield family. Robert's eyebrows raised in surprise. I didn't know that. No one knows, Patricia said. I've spent decades hiding that part of my life, pretending I was always this. She gestured to herself and the expensive car. But talking to the women at the shelter, I'm realizing how lucky I was to get out, to find opportunities. Not everyone has that chance. People can change, Robert acknowledged. I'm seeing that all over Oak Grove lately. At Value Mart headquarters in Chicago, the board of directors meeting was less tense than previous ones. Janet presented the latest figures with cautious optimism. While overall sales are still down due to Super Save's aggressive pricing, Our customer loyalty metrics have improved significantly, she reported. The family initiatives have created a devoted customer base. People are choosing Value Mart despite slightly higher prices. The Oak Grove model is promising enough that we're implementing these programs in 20 additional locations next month, Michael added. George, the oldest board member who had been most skeptical of Robert's community focus, cleared his throat. I must admit, Williams, I had my doubts about your approach. But the customer retention data is compelling. In a price war, we'd eventually lose to larger competitors. But this community-centered strategy gives us a different path. Robert nodded his thanks. The relocation of headquarters to Oak Grove will further demonstrate our commitment to this approach. We're not just a company that serves communities. We're a company that's part of communities. At Oak Grove Hospital, Simone sat in the break room with 3 other women, all wearing scrubs. They were different ages and backgrounds, but they shared one thing in common. They were all single mothers. The nursing program application seemed impossible at first, Simone explained, especially figuring out childcare while attending classes. That's my biggest worry, said Tanya, a young mother of 2 who worked in hospital billing. I want to apply for the medical assistant program, but evening classes mean finding someone to watch my kids. That's why I started this mentorship group, Simone said, to help each other navigate these challenges. I've created a guide to local resources, scholarship applications, and childcare options. How do you manage it all? Asked Maria, another participant. Working, studying, raising 4 children? I have help now, Simone admitted. My daughter's father is very involved, but for 7 years I did it alone. It's possible, just harder. That's why support networks like this matter. After the meeting, the hospital administrator approached Simone. This mentorship program is exactly what many of our staff need. Would you consider expanding it with hospital support? We could provide meeting space and resources. I'd love to, Simone replied. Actually, Value Mart's foundation might be interested in providing additional funding. I can speak to the director about it. You mean you can speak to your children's father about it? The administrator said with a knowing smile. Simone laughed. Yes, that too. The renovation of the community center was half complete when Eleanor Williams arrived for another visit. This time, she came alone. Richard is playing in a golf tournament, she explained as Robert showed her around the construction site. But I wanted to see your new headquarters. What do you think? Robert asked, leading her through the partially finished offices. It's not what I expected, Eleanor admitted, but I can see your vision for it. And for Oak Grove. Later, at Simone's apartment, Eleanor watched the quadruplets show off their latest art projects and school achievements. Her interaction with them had grown more natural over recent months. I brought something for you, Simone, Eleanor said, presenting a worn recipe book. These are family recipes going back 3 generations. I thought you and the girls might enjoy making some of Robert's childhood favorites. Simone accepted the book with surprise. Thank you, Eleanor. That's very thoughtful. I know I haven't been the most welcoming mother in... Eleanor stopped herself. The most welcoming grandmother. But I'm trying to do better. We all are, Simone said gently. When Richard finally visited the technology center the following month, his attitude had noticeably shifted. He observed Robert in a meeting with local business leaders, watching as his son confidently negotiated partnerships that would benefit both Value Mart and the community. You've built something impressive here, Richard told Robert afterward. Not just the buildings, but the business relationships. Thank you, Robert said, surprised by the genuine compliment. Your mother showed me Marcus Chen's latest article, Richard continued. How Value Mart saved South Oak Grove, it's quite complimentary. Marcus gives us too much credit, Robert demurred. The community is saving itself. We're just part of it. Richard studied his son for a moment. Your approach to business is different from mine. I always believed success came from focusing solely on profits, but you're proving there's another way." It was the closest thing to an apology Robert expected from his father. On a warm Saturday in late summer, Robert and Simone took the girls to the park for a picnic. While the quadruplets played on the playground, the adults sat on a blanket under a large oak tree. "The mentorship program at the hospital is expanding," Simone told Robert. "We're helping 10 single parents apply for education programs this fall." "That's wonderful," Robert said. "The foundation can increase its funding if you need more resources." "Thank you," Simone said. "Not just for the funding, but for believing in me. For seeing what I could do before I saw it myself." I always believed in you, Simone," Robert said quietly. "Even 15 years ago, they watched their daughters play. Zoe had joined a youth leadership program at school and was organizing the other children into teams. Zoe was explaining something scientific to a younger child, her hands gesturing enthusiastically. Zara was sketching the scene in her art book while Zuri gently helped a small boy who had fallen. "They're flourishing," Simone observed. "Having both of us in their lives has been so good for them." "It's been good for me too," Robert said. "Better than I ever imagined." He reached for her hand, and she didn't pull away. After months of careful co-parenting and rebuilding trust, their relationship had deepened into something neither of them had expected. Not just parents sharing children, but partners sharing a life. "The community center renovation will be finished next month," Robert said. "Would you and the girls like to see it before the official opening? There's something special I want to show you." "What is it?" Simone asked curiously. Robert smiled. "You'll see. It's a surprise, but I think you'll like it." As the summer day stretched on, they talked about the future. The girls' education, Simone's nursing career, Robert's plans for Value Mart. What had once seemed like separate paths now intertwined naturally, creating a shared vision neither could have imagined that day at the checkout counter. "Who would have thought," Simone said softly, "that Patricia Whitfield's cruelty would lead to all of this?" "Sometimes good things come from difficult moments," Robert replied. "Not because of them, but despite them." The sun began to set over Oak Grove, casting golden light across the park where their daughters played, strong and confident in the knowledge that both their parents loved them and, increasingly, loved each other. "This way," Robert said, leading Simone through the nearly completed Value Mart headquarters. The old community center building had been transformed with modern offices while keeping its historic brick exterior. "I've been saving this surprise for the right moment." He guided her down a hallway to a corner office with large windows overlooking Oak Grove. A plaque beside the door read, "Robert Williams, CEO." "Your office?" Simone asked, stepping inside. "Yes, but that's not the surprise," Robert replied. "Look out the window." Simone walked to the glass and gazed out. "That's the old high school gymnasium," she said, pointing to a building across the street. "Remember the spot behind it? Where we used to meet between classes?" Robert asked. Simone smiled. "Of course I remember. That's where you first told me you loved me." "I chose this office specifically for that view," Robert admitted. "So I'd always remember where our story began." Simone turned to him, her eyes bright with emotion. "You're quite sentimental for a billionaire CEO." "Only about the things that matter," Robert replied softly. 1 year after the Value Mart confrontation that changed everything, Oak Grove gathered to celebrate the official opening of the new headquarters. The street was blocked off for the event, with food trucks, music, and hundreds of residents from all neighborhoods mingling together. The quadruplets, now 9 years old, wore matching Value Mart t-shirts as they helped hand out program booklets to guests. "Mom! Dad!" Zoe called, waving to Simone and Robert from across the crowd. "Mayor Thompson is looking for you." Simone, wearing a simple blue dress, made her way through the crowd with Robert. She caught sight of herself in a window reflection and barely recognized the confident woman looking back. Half a semester into her nursing program, she carried herself differently now, still the dedicated mother, but also a woman with clear goals and growing skills. "Quite a turnout," Mayor Thompson said when they reached him. "Oak Grove hasn't seen this kind of community spirit in decades." "People were ready to come together," Robert replied. "They just needed a reason." On the temporary stage, Michael from Value Mart's executive team was addressing the crowd. "The family initiatives pioneered here in Oak Grove have now been implemented in all 278 Value Mart locations nationwide," he announced. "Customer loyalty is at an all-time high, and sales have recovered despite continued price competition." Eleanor and Richard Williams stood near the front, Richard actually smiling as he pointed out features of the building to other guests. They had purchased a small house in Oak Grove 3 months ago, splitting their time between there and Chicago to be close to their granddaughters. As the speeches concluded, Robert took the microphone. "This evening at 6 o'clock, we invite everyone to join us for a community dinner at Value Mart to mark 1 year since the event that started this journey. It's a celebration of how far Oak Grove has come." The Value Mart store had been transformed for the evening. Tables filled the front section, decorated with flowers and candles. Residents from all parts of town chatted together over food prepared by local restaurants. Near the entrance, Tom Parker, now Value Mart's training director, demonstrated customer service techniques to a group of new employees. "The first rule is respect," Tom explained. "Every customer deserves to be treated with dignity, regardless of how they pay or what they purchase." The young staff members nodded attentively, taking notes. At one of the serving stations, Patricia Whitfield quietly dished out food alongside other volunteers. Her red hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, her designer clothes replaced by a volunteer t-shirt and jeans. When Simone approached with an empty tray, Patricia looked up with a hesitant smile. "The pasta salad is popular," Patricia said. "I'll get more from the back." "Thank you," Simone replied. After a moment she added, "Your affordable housing project has made a real difference for several families in my mentorship program." Patricia's face brightened. "That means a lot coming from you." Across the room, Marcus Chen chatted with a well-dressed woman in a business suit. "My publisher thinks A Tale of Two Oak Groves will resonate with communities across America," he explained. "The book traces the transformation from that first article to today. It's an important story," the woman agreed. "Economic division exists in towns everywhere." Eleanor approached Simone as she arranged food on the buffet table. "The girls look lovely tonight," she said, gesturing to where the quadruplets sat with their cousins, Eleanor's other grandchildren who were visiting from Boston. "Thank you for bringing the cousins to visit," Simone replied. "The girls have loved getting to know their extended family." "We should have done it years ago," Eleanor admitted. "I wasted so much time with my stubbornness." "We're moving forward now," Simone said. "That's what matters." When dinner concluded, Robert stood to address the gathered community. The store fell quiet as he spoke. "1 year ago today, right here at this checkout counter," he began, pointing to Register 3, "my life changed forever. I discovered I had 4 beautiful daughters I never knew existed. I reconnected with my high school sweetheart, and I began to see my hometown with new eyes." He gestured around the room. "Look at us now. North and South Oak Grove, sitting together, new jobs, new housing, new connections being built every day." Robert's gaze found Simone in the crowd. None of this would have happened without Simone Johnson. Not just because she raised our amazing daughters for 7 years on her own, but because her strength and vision inspired everything Value Mart has become. Simone felt her cheeks grow warm as people turned to look at her. "Tonight," Robert continued, "I'm pleased to announce the establishment of the Simone Johnson Nursing Scholarship Foundation. This program will provide full scholarships for single parents pursuing nursing degrees, with guaranteed job placement after graduation." The room erupted in applause. Simone's eyes widened in surprise. "The foundation will begin with 20 scholarships annually," Robert said when the applause quieted, "because everyone deserves the chance to pursue their dreams, no matter what obstacles they face." As the crowd cheered again, the quadruplets suddenly appeared beside Robert on stage, each holding a large card with a word written on it. They arranged themselves in a line, holding up their cards to spell out, "Will you marry us?" The room fell silent as Robert walked to where Simone sat frozen in surprise. "I had a whole speech prepared," he said, kneeling before her, "about second chances and building something stronger than before. But our daughters thought this was more direct." He pulled a small box from his pocket. "Simone Johnson, will you marry me?" For a moment, Simone couldn't speak. She looked at Robert, then at their daughters watching expectantly from the stage, then at the community gathered around them, all the people who had become part of their journey. "Yes," she said finally, her voice strong and clear. "Yes, I will." Cheers filled the store as Robert slipped the ring onto her finger, and the girls raced from the stage to join their parents in a group hug. Later that night, after the celebration had ended and the girls were asleep at home, Simone and Robert stood in the empty store, looking at Register 3 where everything had started. "I never imagined we'd end up here," Simone said. "That day when my card was declined and Patricia was so cruel." "It was the worst moment becoming the best," Robert said, "though I wouldn't recommend it as a way to find your long-lost family." Simone laughed, then grew serious. "You know what I realized today, looking around at everyone from all parts of Oak Grove talking and eating together?" "What's that?" Robert asked. "That communities are like families. They can break apart, but they can also heal if people care enough to try." Robert took her hand, the engagement ring catching the light. "Speaking of family, the girls have some strong opinions about wedding details already. Zoe thinks we should have 4 identical cakes." "Of course she does," Simone smiled. "And let me guess, Zoe has calculated the most efficient seating arrangement, Zara wants to design the invitations, and Zuri is worried about making sure everyone feels included." "You know our daughters well," Robert laughed. As they walked out of the store into the quiet Oak Grove night, Simone looked up at the stars. "Sometimes when things seem at their worst, you're actually at the doorstep of something better," she said softly. "You just have to be brave enough to walk through." Robert squeezed her hand as they headed home to their sleeping children. Behind them, the Value Mart sign glowed in the darkness, no longer just a store but a symbol of how one small moment of conflict had sparked healing for an entire community. And at Register 3, where a wealthy woman had once looked down on a struggling mother, a small plaque now read, "Every journey begins somewhere. Be kind to fellow travelers." If you enjoyed today's video, I'm sure you'll love the next one. Don't waste time. Just click on the screen.